Brussels boss Ursula von der Leyen has called for the US to lift its travel ban for Europeans within weeks. In a direct warning to US President Joe Biden, she insisted travel rules should be comparable between the two areas. Her intervention comes after Washington opted to persist with its restrictions on European travelers despite the EU having lifted its own measures in June. Ms. von der Leyen said, "We insist that there are comparable rules for travelers in both directions." The epidemiological situation in the US and the EU today is very similar. The EU lifted entry restrictions for US citizens back in June. We have to solve the problem as soon as possible and we are in contact with our American friends. This mustn't drag on for weeks. In June, the EU added the US to its green list for safe non-essential international travel. It allowed entry to the bloc even for travelers that weren't yet fully vaccinated. After the announcement, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Washington hoped to lift its own ban as soon as possible. But it was last week announced that the restrictions on Europeans would be maintained. It was reported that EU officials said the decision was a huge disappointment. Until now, Brussels has refused to publicly condemn the U.S. decision. A European Commission spokesman last week said, "As you know, we have received reassurances that this is a high priority issue for the U.S. administration. We are engaging in good faith with the U.S. Our assessment remains that there is a strong case for the U.S. to reopen to travelers from Europe." Former U.S. President Donald Trump first introduced the travel ban on Europeans but lifted it before losing his place in the White House. After taking office in January, President Biden reimposed the rules to curb the spread of coronavirus. Washington has blamed the spread of the Delta variant for keeping the measures in place. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said, "Driven by the Delta variant, cases are rising here at home, particularly among those who are unvaccinated, and appears likely to continue in the weeks ahead." German Chancellor Angela Merkel has publicly called on the U.S. to reopen transatlantic travel. And airlines have urged for the routes to be reopened because restrictions are currently hindering their businesses. British diplomats have also reached out to Washington in the hope of securing a U-turn on the travel ban. Number 10 has relaxed rules to allow fully vaccinated American and European travelers to land in England without quarantine restrictions.